So, a thing you have to understand about me is that I live in an apartment where people have lots of water and faucets. So if you're subbed to me, you and I probably share a mutual love of stories, video games, or both. Now, I've never been one to cry a lot, even as a kid, so when a video game managed to make me cry when I was a teenager, I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that my life was forever changed. Even though I swelled with love for literature, music, and film, it was in that moment that I knew that video games would forever be the artistic medium that I would find solace in. So, here are the 3 moments that I can remember when a video game showed me something that was so real and honest that it broke me down. So in Mass Effect 3, Thane gets shot, and, you spend the entire second game with him, so this obviously feels really bad. And because of his sickness, his body doesn't take to recovering very well. In Mass Effect 2, Thane is this complete badass sniper who, after years and years of being a mercenary, decides to try finding peace by doing good for the world. And his story is one that deeply touched me, and he's one of my favorite characters from the second game. In his dying moments, Thane requests that a prayer be read on his behalf. You and his son Koliot read the passages out loud, praying that the gods give him mercy for his sins, and that they see the good that he's done in his life. The prayer requests a journey to a place of hope and prosperity, that Thane can be taken to a place where the traveler never tires, and the lover never leaves, and the hungry never starve. Then, when Thane dies, Shepard asks Koliot one last question.
Koliot, why did the last verse say she?
The prayer was not for him, Commander. He has already asked forgiveness for the lives he has taken. His wish was for you.
Bye, Thane. Meet you across the sea.
I sometimes find myself worrying about death. My girlfriend does too. The finality of it all just makes me shiver. I wonder if my final moments will be full of fear, or if I'll die like my grandfather did, unsuspecting and alone, thinking that I'll come out on the other side of an operating table, and then bam, just black. I don't know what it's like to be on my deathbed, so I can't imagine the fear pulsing through someone's veins, the regret, the loss that Thane might be experiencing. But here's the thing, instead of those emotions surfacing at the end of his life, they're trumped by his desire for his friend to succeed. For me to succeed. I cannot possibly think of anything more selfless than thinking of someone else on the moment of your own deathbed. And at that point in my life, I'd never experienced such an act of selflessness. Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories is my favorite game on the Game Boy Advance, and I should honestly make a completely different video explaining why. What's interesting about Chain of Memories is that it only made me cry the second time I played through it. I beat the main game when I was at the end of elementary school, I think, and then I think it took me up until like grade 7 to beat Riku mode, which for those of you who haven't played it is kind of like the hard mode of the game. I picked the game back up later in college when I was looking to see if it was as good as I remembered it. It absolutely was. Eventually, I made it back to the 100-acre wood level in Sora mode, which is a notoriously divisive world among fans of the game. The goal of this section is to help Pooh Bear find his friends, and help the townsfolk do a bunch of chores, and, Pooh is there with you the whole time. He just straight up shuts down if you don't keep him fueled with honey, by the way, which is hilarious now, but damn, it really freaking grinded my gears when I was a kid. When you finally get through all of the chores and you're ready to head out, Pooh has his final tender moment with Sora, where he asks Sora to join him on his main quest to help him find his own friends, paying it forward as it were. It's honestly adorable watching this ball of fluff try to pay your friendship forward. And then this happens. Sora says his goodbyes, and Pooh gets really sad, and Sora says, well, I'll always know where to find you so long as I remember. And Pooh looks over at him and says, dude, we're friends, of course we'll remember each other. So the second time I played this game, and I got through the entirety of the 100-acre wood, I was bawling my eyes out. Because you see, throughout the game, you've slowly been losing your old memories as Sora. So the deeper you get into Castle Oblivion, they start getting replaced by these new fake memories of anime and all kinds of weird stuff. So bit by bit, you're starting to lose your sense of self, and it's being replaced by all these fake memories. At the end of the game, Sora is given the choice between keeping all of his old lost memories or keeping all of the fake memories as well as those he made in the castle. When he understandably chooses to keep all of his old memories, he ends up destroying all of the memories that he formed with Pooh. What made things really shitty for me was that I, as a player in my older years, had completely forgotten about the silly old bear who got me through the 100 Acre Wood. To me, it was a segment of the game that I had understandably repressed as being like a massive pause in the action that I didn't remember very fondly. The dramatic irony of playing the game a second time is that you know that Sora can't keep his promise to Pooh, even if it's one that he's made to a friend. So when Sora tells Pooh, "Of course, I'll never forget you," I knew all too well what it meant to break that promise. The day my Abuela passed away, I found myself wanting to cry, yet being unable to do so. You know, the whole toxic masculinity stuff from before kind of falling into effect here. My Abuela and I weren't super close, though in life I tried to spend as much time with her as possible. She was an introverted woman, kept to herself, and wasn't exactly eager to reach out and hang out with people. That said, she had a really big heart, and was a joy to be with when you could finally get her out of the house. She lived in a folks' home, where her hours were spent watching reruns of those animal shows, like America's Funniest Animals or something like that. You know, the shows where animals are doing things they aren't supposed to do, like juggling or flipping up or dancing or stuff like that. Those animal videos always made my Abuela laugh with this like hoarse, full body, chesty chuckle that shook her whole rotundous body with like each bounce. She just had like a really warm laugh that I remember well. On the day she died, my girlfriend was there for me, and she asked what I wanted to do, so I told her that I just wanted to spend the evening doing whatever we'd normally do together. She suggested playing some Mass Effect 3, because we were getting through that game together. My girlfriend and I play single-player games together, like a bunch of weirdos. I hold the right-hand side of the controller usually, while she holds the left. I swear our relationship has lasted this long because we've literally learned how to inhabit the same corporeal body time and time again together. And boy oh boy do we make a damn great team. So anyway, we're playing Mass Effect 3, and we're getting to the point of the game where we have to decide whether or not to cure the genophage, which is that artificial disease that causes the Krogan large amounts of stillbirths. The Solarians and the Turians created the genophage to slow down Krogan reproduction during the wars against them, and Mordin Solus, my favorite character in the game, was sort of the progenitor of the disease. He spends most of the second game explaining why it was necessary to condemn this entire species to hundreds of years of pain and anguish, so that he could ensure galactic peace. After all, the Krogan are a violent folk, and you as the player are shown this repeatedly time and time again. You can choose to see this decision as necessary, or take a stand with the Krogan and denounce the genophage. My girlfriend, who made all of the choices in this run, chose the not eugenics option, thankfully, so we were on our way to ending the genophage with Mordin by our side. I had already played most of the game years ago, but my girlfriend hadn't, so I saw everything coming. Every comment made by Mordin about wanting to do things right this time around. Every little line of dialogue about him being musical and how he loved to sing. I appreciated every witty comment twice as much, knowing what would happen to him in the end. When you finally have the chance to dispense the cure for the genophage, something goes wrong, and Mordin has to go up to the top of a tower to die in order for it to work. This man, who spent his life in pursuit of scientific excellence, whose greatest claim to fame was ending the Krogan rebellion through science, was now about to end his own life by destroying the very disease that he himself created. His commitment to correcting the mistakes of the past are the very definition of tragedy. His final words hit me harder than they did the first time. He tells you that it had to be him. After all, someone else might have gotten it wrong. It's poetic that he frames his sacrifice in such a way. There's this thing about personal responsibility that makes it really tough to follow through with sometimes. The best thing you can be in my eyes is someone who takes responsibility for those they care about, and for correcting the mistakes that have been made in the past. I suppose that's what's most tragic about Mordin's death. It's only in his final moments that I realized how much respect I had for him. I really have no regrets with my grandmother. I spent my time with her while she was alive and capable, and my parents warned me that grandparents don't last forever, so I spent that time to the best of my ability. That said, it was only in those moments, those final moments, that I realized how much I would miss her. My grandmother lived a long and complicated life, and I think that the sacrifices that she made to get where she ended up were scars on her psyche that I can't even begin to understand. She had to leave a child behind in a war-torn Paraguay, a decision that haunted her until her final days. but she constantly provided for her family, despite being a continent away, earning the bare minimum as a maid in the United States and then moving on to Canada to find a new husband. I don't know how she managed, but she did. She managed to succeed. She managed to survive. I love you, Abuela, and I'm only sorry that I didn't recognize just how strong you were until you were on your last legs. In his defense of poetry, Percy Shelley said that art isn't usually trying to accurately present reality, but instead exists to reflect its shadows, revealing the hidden truths within the lies that are presented before the audience. If there were ever a moment that proved to me that video games can be art, that they could show me an honest truth behind the smoke and mirrors, then the death of Mordin Solus in Mass Effect 3 would be it. Well, that was all very depressing. Yeah, I don't know. I make videos, because I have a lot of fun with them, but they're also kind of therapeutic, so I kind of felt the need to make this one. Yeah, sorry if it made you a little sad. I don't like making people sad, but yeah, this was just something I wanted to put out there. Yeah, what were your saddest experiences in video games? Leave me a comment down below, because yeah, I'm more curious than anything else. Anyway, peace out. This is the Manic Pineapple, returning to cheer and happiness.